Today's topic is money. You know, I'm going to take you back 30 years ago and during my first marriage, and we were in big money trouble. We lived paycheck to paycheck. We had credit card debt. We had no savings, and we had very little in our checking account from time to time. Now I want to fast forward 10 years and one divorce later. I turned my life around. I learned to manage my money. Today, I want to share with you 3 tips that you can do today and have more money tomorrow. Let's do it. Hi, I'm Bonnie Overman. I want to thank you so much for joining my channel today. I really hope that my videos will inspire you to learn more, do more, and be more at any age. And in case you're wondering, I'll be 70 years old next year. So why this video on money? Well, I think especially during this time we're facing right now, we're stressed out enough as it is. And I can't think of anything more stressful than having money issues. The arguing and the fighting and the discord that it brings to families, the worry, the stress. It's something that I think everybody can use a little bit of, no matter what your financial state is. I do want to do a disclaimer. I am not an investment specialist, and I am not a financial expert, but I have graduated from the School of Hard Knocks, and I think that stands for a lot. So before we get started on this, I do want to give you a couple basic things. We can't pull a rabbit out of a hat on this, so we have to kind of look at realistically at how much money we have. So the first thing I want to say is it's very helpful if whoever's spending the money in your household, that you're all on the same page. What I mean by that is my first marriage, I was the frugal one. I wanted to save money and he wanted to spend money. So it caused a lot of discord in the family, and you really can't achieve your financial goals unless you're on the same page. It's the same thing as parenting. You have to be a cohesive team, so to say. The next thing I want to say is you need to make more money. If you are at a low-paying job and all of your expenses are right at that point and you're living paycheck to paycheck and they're basically necessities, you're not overspending on things, you really need to make more money. Now, I'm going to do a video. My next video will be on increasing your income. So you might want to take a look at that one, and that might help you a little bit. But you can only do so much if you're making a very small amount of money. And you have to plan on making more every year because inflation goes up every year. So you need to have a plan to either get a raise or get a promotion or try to add another source of income to what you have. Now, if you are in deep trouble, and I mean you're ready to lose your house and you might owe the IRS and all this kind of stuff, please get professional help. I am not a professional person. I'm just relating just some tricks and tips that I've used to really turn my money situation around. So I think these are going to be great tips for you, whether you are needing quite a bit of help or you just need to tweak a couple things. Maybe you just think, oh, you know, my credit card debt, I need some help on. So here we go. Tip number 1. Don't spend everything you make. Now, that seems fairly obvious, doesn't it? But this is a mindset that is so, so important. Let me explain. Let's say you're in that first example I just talked about a minute ago where you're, making this much money and your expenses are this much. And your expenses are the necessities. You have to make more money to get by in this life. But the problem is people make more money and then all of a sudden they start spending more money. They make more money, spend more money. They get the bigger car, the bigger house. You might say, well, it's not going to be a problem if you're like a millionaire, right? Oh no, they have the same problem too. It's this mindset, don't spend everything you make. You've seen people in the music business, in sports, all of a sudden become so rich and have become multimillionaires. And then a couple years down the road, they're broke. It's because they're spending what they're making and probably even above that. So whatever you bring in, if you spend above it, this is your debt. If you spend below it, this is your savings. So don't spend everything you make. If you're having issues right now, no, do not use your credit cards, especially if you have credit card debt. Keep those for emergencies if you absolutely need to do it. And that would be car, mortgage, health issues, something like that. I want to show you how you can possibly save $500 to $1,000 a month right now. Now, I don't know exactly what your habits are. I'm kind of going by the average person. So I'm going to give a little leeway there. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I also want to ask you, if you've received that extra, if you're unemployed and you've been getting that extra $600 a week, have you saved some of that? Or have you spent it? Just a question to think about there. Because that $600 a week, if you got it for the 4 months, that ends up being $2,400 a month. In 4 months, it's $9,600. And if you have 2 people in the household, it's $18,000. That is a lot of money. That could be an excellent way to start your emergency fund and even start to pay off some debt. But let's dive a little deeper. I think you really need to kind of look at budgeting and how you're spending your money. So let's go over some of the basics. Your rent and mortgage. Are you over your head? Are you in a situation that you just can't maintain? You might need to do something about that. If you're renting, you might need to take on a roommate. Anything to get the biggest chunk of our income down slightly. And that usually is 30% of our gross monthly take home is our rent and mortgage. And by the way, 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck. That's scary. Car payments are the next big category that you need to look at. Is there 2 people in your family that have large car payments? I was shocked to learn that they average around $400 to $500 a month, which is a lot of money. Can one of you maybe sell your car and get a very good, reliable used car to use and then put that $500 away? That's a real fast way to save $500 every month. Utilities are pretty much set, and with that I put cable, your cell phones. Just make sure you're not overdoing on the plans, but those things are pretty much fixed. Then you come to the next one, which is food. That a lot of times people can cut like $100, $200 a month from their food. Make a list, stick to the list, plan your meals, and when you come home so you don't waste food, it's important to buy your food, cook your food, then freeze your food, and you'll have less chance of that. Now, the next category is miscellaneous, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but let's get to point number 2, and that is to create an emergency fund and a savings account. But first, we're going to look at the emergency fund. So what I recommend doing is once you do your budget and you figure out how much a month you can have put in this emergency fund, which you really should have in case of a house emergency or, again, medical or a car emergency. You know you've got to buy new tires and all this other stuff. Have an auto deposit. So every month they'll take so much out of your checking account and just put it into your savings account, and it's still there. You know, in case something awful happened, it's still there. But start doing this automatically every month before you touch any of your money. Your paycheck goes in and some is diverted out into your automatic savings. Let's talk about the miscellaneous category. That category is where all your savings is going to come from. So let's look at and see some of the habits that a lot of people have, that if you, instead of buying these things out, make them at home, you can save a lot of money. And I'm looking at saving you about $500 to $1,000 a month. Do you get a specialty coffee every day? You know, you have coffee in the house because you have it on the weekends, but if you buy a coffee every day while you're working on the way to work, and I'm not going to count the little pastry or the little egg sandwich you have with it, you're talking about $5 a day, and that adds up in a month to $100. Now, if you and your spouse are doing the same thing, that's $200 a month on coffee that you can make at home for pennies, take to work with you. Really important. The next one is lunch. If you don't take your lunch and you buy lunch every day, there's a good chance you're averaging probably around $10 a day for that. And I'm being a little not conservative on this one, which I probably should be, but you figure out these numbers, you plug in the numbers that make sense to you. But the average person is going to spend about $10 a day, and that is going to be about $200 a month. And if you're both doing it, it's $400 a month. And right now, if you're talking about two people spending this money, we're at $600. Now, if you're a family of four, and how often do you eat out? Eating out, if it's about $10 a person, once you get a burger, a salad, fries, whatever, and a drink, it's usually around $10. Four people in your family, that's $40. I'm going to be really conservative on this and say you only eat out 5 times a month, which I think most people eat out a lot more than that. That's $200 a month. So now we're up to about $800. Again, plug in your numbers, you might be a little less than that, but I'm sure we're going to hit $500 no matter what at the minimum. Now, if you do this, we have one more area to think about, and that is, what else are you spending in the miscellaneous? And ladies, I'm afraid a lot of this goes to us, because how many tops or clothes do you buy? How many shoes? How much skincare? How much makeup? How much shoes or boots? I might have mentioned that already. How many pillows, home decor, scrapbooking things? The list goes on and on. And guys too, they have their different hobbies and they spend stuff. And we buy so much on home shopping too, which I absolutely love. But a lot of times that stuff just comes and it sits in the box. So how much do you spend on those kinds of things every month? I would imagine a family of 4, easy $200 a month on just all that little extras. I'm not talking about if your kids need shoes, definitely go ahead and get your kids shoes. But I'm just talking about all the stuff. How many more shoes do we need? And eyeshadow palettes and makeup. It's just crazy. Even myself, I've gotten way out of hand with that. And you end up using 1 or 2 colors. It never fails. So when you add all this up, we're talking anywhere from $500 to $1,000. Now, if you can do $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. Oh my gosh. In 1 year, you could have $12,000 in your emergency fund. You might say that's a lot of money. But I tell you, if you're bringing home about $4,000 a month in income, that will only last you 3 months if you lost your job. So it's a good start. But once you get up to next, we want to talk about debt. Now, we haven't used our credit cards, right? We have about, let's say, $5,000 on our credit card we need to take care of. When you get your emergency fund, that separate fund, up to about $15,000, I'd say, something like that, then divert $5,000 over and pay off your debt. Get that done. And I would leave your credit card until you have a lot of control over the spending on it. Just leave it for emergencies. Nobody is to use their credit cards. And that way you just keep using what you have in your main account, your checking account. Now, when you start building up your emergency fund, that's when you can start switching money over to savings. And this is really good, because if you can just use your credit card for emergency only, it's going to save you so much. Now, I want to tell you a little story. It's about the $12.99 top. $12.99. A bargain, right? Got it at Ross. I buy a lot of stuff at Ross. Well, is it really a bargain? Because I get so upset when I look in my closet and there's the $12.99 top that I bought with the tag still on it. It's 6 months later and I haven't worn the darn thing. I think you can relate to me. Somebody out there can relate to me. So at least the good part is I only wasted $12.99 on it because I paid off my credit cards every month. That is something my husband and I do. We pay off our credit cards. We do have no credit card debt. So finally, I told myself when I was cleaning out my closet, I'm going to at least cut the tags off, and it's nice and soft, so I'll wear it around the house or to sleep in or something like that. Now, this is what really, when I started thinking a little farther about this, if you don't pay off your credit card, you've got that $12.99 top on it, start to think what happens as the months start going on and you're paying so much interest on these items. that $12.99 top sitting in your closet is costing you now maybe $20, maybe $30, and you're not even wearing it. Here's the worst thing of all. Let's say you cleaned out your closet and you donated your $12.99 top. Somebody else is wearing it and you're still paying on it. And now, years later, it's going to be $100 charge on your credit card. When I started thinking about that, I thought, wow, I really get why it's so important not to have credit card debt, because all these bargains you got are no longer bargains. They're overinflated pricing because of the credit card debt. So again, pay off your credit card debt as soon as you get a little bit of a emergency fund. So to summarize, I think here's some of the things I want to leave you with. Make more money. You've got to make more money as inflation goes up to keep ahead of the game. Oh, and by the way, do not spend everything you make. I know that's so simple, isn't it? But it's always a philosophy that I've had since I learned from my disastrous first marriage. Do not spend everything you make. You can't. You've got to put some of that money away up front. Try to do a budget. And by the way, if you want to do a little thing, I did this last year. 3 months, no buying. I bought food and toiletries. Everything else was off the table. I could go shopping and look, but I couldn't buy anything. So I don't know if something like that might work for you guys. Try to make fun. Use the things you have. Get the clothes out you're not wearing. Get the scrapbook stuff out you're not using, and use it and wear it. You'll get your money's worth that way. But do try to set up some type of a budget so you guys know exactly what you have to spend. And when you start getting a handle on everything, you have $30 a month that you can blow on, something for the house or clothes or whatever. So your goal is to get your budget worked out. You're supposed to have an emergency fund, a savings, and no credit card debt. That's what you really want. Now, when you get to the point where your savings now, you're starting to get some money built up in there, that's where you might want to invest. And then you would contact an investment specialist. Try to get one that has your best interest at heart. Luckily, my son is in that business, so he takes care of me. And lastly, try to have a Roth IRA. That's where you can take your own money and put it in an account that you can earn interest and not have to pay taxes on it. And if you have a 401k where they will match or double match whatever you put in, take advantage of that. I think that's really important too. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Please subscribe, hit the bell, like my video, and comment below on some of the things you're going through that maybe I can do some videos on. The next video I'm going to make is how to increase your income. And I'm going to give you several different ways, ideas on resumes, job interviews, and all of that. So until next week, be safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.